My stepmother forced me to cook and babysit her kids, but I refused, and one bold dinner move made her and my dad regret everything. This whole thing with making my own lunch started when I was about 12. My mom was sick, really sick with cancer, and obviously she couldn't take care of all the small stuff like packing lunches. It wasn't a big deal at the time. I was old enough to know how to make a sandwich and pack a few snacks, so I just started doing it myself. It seemed like the responsible thing to do. After she passed, things just kind of stayed that way. My dad wasn't really around much during the day, and he never made lunches for me. In fact, I don't even think he knew what I was eating half the time. He just said, "Oh, you're old enough to handle it," and left it at that. So I kept packing my own lunch and never really thought much of it. It became my routine: grab a couple of things from the fridge, throw them in a bag, and go. No big deal, right? Fast forward a few years. Now I'm 16, still making my own lunches, still taking care of myself. Except now things are different. My dad remarried a couple of years ago to this woman named Sarah. She's got 3 kids from her previous marriage, twin boys who are about 6 and an 11-year-old daughter. At first, I didn't think much of them moving in. I mean, it was weird having more people in the house, but whatever. It wasn't like they were my problem. I had my room, my space, and I was doing my own thing. But then, about a year ago, Sarah started getting this idea in her head that since I'm already making my own lunch, I should be making lunch for her kids too. She said it would help out and streamline everything so she didn't have to do it. I remember the first time she asked me, I thought she was joking. Like, seriously, why would I make lunch for them? I barely know these kids, and they're not my responsibility. But she wasn't joking. She really expected me to do it. I told her no, flat out. I didn't feel bad about it either. I'm already making my own lunch because my dad can't be bothered, so why would I add more work to my day? Plus, I have school and a part-time job to juggle, so I don't have time to run around packing lunches for a bunch of kids. I didn't think it was a big deal. They're her kids, right? It's not on me to take care of them. Apparently Sarah thought differently. She was shocked that I said no. She looked at me like I'd just insulted her or something. She started going off about how it's crazy that I wouldn't want to help out my siblings, which is what she called them. But to be real, I don't see them like that. I barely know these kids, and they're definitely not my siblings. We're not even close. After that first argument, I thought that'd be the end of it. I figured she'd get over it and realize it's not my job. But nope, she went straight to my dad, probably thinking he'd back her up. And of course my dad doesn't like conflict, so he just kind of half agreed with her. He said something like, "It wouldn't hurt to help out a little. You know, you're part of the family now." I could feel myself getting mad. Part of the family now? Since when? Nobody asked me how I felt about having 3 strangers living in my house. But fine, whatever. I still said no. I wasn't budging. Sarah was obviously pissed, but I didn't care. I knew if I gave in once, I'd be making lunches for the rest of my life. Things got awkward after that. Every time Sarah saw me making my lunch, she'd give me this look, like she was silently judging me for not helping. It's not like I'm heartless. If it was an emergency, sure, I'd help. But this was just her trying to get out of doing her own job as a mom. I wasn't having it. Then she started with the guilt trips. She'd say stuff like, "It must be nice to only have to worry about yourself," or "It's so selfish to not want to help your family." She even started using her kids to try to get to me. One morning the twins came up and asked, "Why don't you make our lunch? Mommy said you're good at it." That made me so mad. How do you drag your kids into this just to make me feel bad? I wasn't falling for it. I just said, "Ask your mom. She's the one in charge, not me." That didn't go over well. Sarah got even more passive-aggressive. If I was in the kitchen making lunch, she'd purposely make a huge mess and leave it for me to clean up, or she'd leave the fridge open so stuff would go bad quicker. It was ridiculous. I just ignored it and kept doing my thing. The real kicker was when she started trying to pawn her kids off on me more and more. "I'm so busy, can you watch the twins for a bit?" Or, "I need to run errands, can you help them with their homework?" It's like, no, I have my own life. I'm not a built-in babysitter. I have school, work, and my own stuff to deal with. Why should I take on more? Then one day she took things to a whole new level. I was in the middle of making my lunch when she came in and asked, "Why won't you just help out with the kids' lunches? It's not that big of a deal." I told her again that it's not my job and I don't have time. She looked frustrated and said, "It's just lunch. You're already doing it for yourself. Why not for them?" I snapped a little. "Because they're your kids, not mine. I'm not their dad. I'm not their mom. And I'm not here to make up for what you're not doing." I could tell by her face she wasn't expecting that. She just stood there for a minute, then turned around and walked out. I thought that was the end of it, but boy was I wrong. After that last argument, I thought maybe she'd back off for a while. But things didn't calm down. If anything, she got more persistent, almost like she was on a mission to make me give in. And of course she went straight to my dad again. This time it wasn't just a casual suggestion. She came at him full force, saying I needed to start helping more around the house and doing my part for the family. I could hear them arguing in the living room while I was in my room. Sarah was doing most of the talking. My dad, as usual, was just kind of agreeing in that passive way he always does when he doesn't want to deal with a situation. I knew what was coming before my dad even knocked on my door. He came in, sat on the edge of my bed, and did that thing where he sighs before he talks, like he's about to drop heavy news, but it's never really heavy, just annoying. Look, he started, rubbing his hands together. Sarah's got a point, you know. It wouldn't hurt for you to help out more around here. Help with what? I asked, knowing exactly where this was going but not in the mood to make it easy for him. He hesitated, which told me he didn't really want this conversation either, but he was too far in now. Well, the kids, he said. You know, making their lunches, helping Sarah when she's busy. You're already making your own lunch, right? I just stared at him. Yeah, my own lunch, for me, not for anyone else. Oh, no, I know, he said, trying to smooth things over before it got heated. But you're part of this family now, and Sarah's got a lot on her plate. It wouldn't hurt for you to step up a little. This is where I lost my patience. Dad, I'm already stepping up. I make my own lunches. I work part-time. I take care of my own stuff. Why do I need to take on more? They're not my kids. Sarah married you, not me. He didn't like that. His expression changed. He went from calm to irritated. This is about being part of the family, not just doing the bare minimum. It's not like we're asking you to raise the kids, just help out. It's what families do. I was getting angry, but I knew if I didn't watch it, things would blow up. Still, I couldn't let it slide. You and Sarah had these kids, not me. If you want help with them, hire a babysitter. I've got my own life, and I'm not here to take over for what you two aren't doing. He didn't say anything for a minute, just sat there processing. Then he got up, gave me the disappointed dad look, and walked out. I knew this wasn't the end. Sarah was probably waiting downstairs for the report, and whatever I said wasn't going to make her happy. Things got really awkward after that. Every time I walked into the kitchen, Sarah was there hovering, watching me. She didn't even try to hide her frustration. She'd make little comments under her breath. Must be nice to only worry about yourself, or some people don't know what family means. I just ignored it. I wasn't going to engage with her passive-aggressive nonsense. Then she pulled the guilt trip move. One day I'm packing my lunch and she comes in with the twins. Boys, don't you wish you had a big brother who cared enough to help out and make you lunch? I stopped what I was doing and looked right at her. That's not fair, and you know it. You can't make me responsible for them. She didn't like that. She turned to the boys. Why don't you two go play? I need to have a grown-up talk with your brother. As soon as they left, she turned on me. It's not just about the lunches. It's about the fact that you don't even want to help. It's selfish. That word, selfish, set me off. Selfish? I'm the one making my own food and paying for it with my own money. I'm not asking anyone to take care of me. If anyone's selfish here, it's you for trying to dump your responsibilities on me. She wasn't expecting me to push back that hard. She looked shocked at first, but quickly recovered. I work full-time. I'm raising 3 kids, and I'm trying to make this house run smoothly. The least you could do is step up and be part of the family. I shook my head. Sarah, I am part of the family, but that doesn't mean I have to take on your job. You and Dad decided to have these kids. You and Dad should be the ones taking care of them. I'm doing more than enough by taking care of myself. She didn't have a comeback. She just gave me an angry look and left the room. Later that night I overheard Sarah talking to my dad again, laying it on thick about how I didn't care about the family, how I was only thinking about myself, and how it was making her life so much harder. I knew my dad would come back to me about it. Sure enough, the next day he knocked on my door again. Listen, he started, I get it. You don't feel like it's your responsibility to take care of the kids, but we're all living under the same roof, and it'd be nice if you could just help out every now and then. It's not a big ask. At this point I was tired of the whole thing. Dad, it is a big ask. I already do more than enough around here. If Sarah needs help, she should talk to you, not me. I'm not going to be a replacement parent. He looked frustrated but didn't push it further. I think he knew I wasn't going to back down, and maybe he didn't want another argument. From that point on, things were tense. Every time I went into the kitchen, I felt Sarah watching me, waiting for me to slip up or finally cave. But I wasn't going to. This wasn't my problem to solve, and the more they tried to force it on me, the more I resisted. So after that last talk with my dad, I figured things couldn't get much worse. Sarah was mad, my dad was frustrated, and I was just trying to keep my head down. But of course they couldn't let it go. Things took another turn. This time it wasn't about lunch anymore. It was about dinner. It started one evening when I was in the kitchen making myself something to eat. By now I'd gotten used to cooking my own meals because I didn't want to sit down with Sarah and my dad. Things were too tense, and I'd rather avoid awkward family dinners. Plus I'd been paying for my own food with my part-time job money. I didn't want to hear complaints about not contributing. I was making something simple, chicken and rice with veggies. Nothing fancy, but enough for me. I was halfway through cooking when Sarah walked in with the kids. They were hungry and expecting dinner, but obviously I hadn't made anything for them. Sarah looked at what I was cooking, then turned to me, annoyed. "Are you not making dinner for everyone?" "No," I said. "This is for me. You didn't ask me to make anything for everyone." She stared at me, clearly not happy. "You're cooking for yourself, but you couldn't think to make enough for the kids too? They're hungry." I tried to stay calm. "I'm not their parent, Sarah. I'm just making dinner for me. You can make something for them, or Dad can. It's not my responsibility." That set her off. She started going off about how selfish I was, how I never thought about anyone else, how I was splitting the family by refusing to help. It was the same speech, but more intense because the kids were standing there looking at me like I'd done something wrong. I just let her rant. I wasn't going to start making dinner for everyone just because she was mad. I knew if I gave in, it would never end. When she finally stopped, I said, "Look, if you want me to cook for everyone, ask me ahead of time. I'm not going to just start making meals for the whole family because you expect it." "I shouldn't have to ask you," she snapped. "You live here. You should want to help." At that point I was done. I turned back to my food, finished cooking, and sat down to eat. Sarah stormed out with the kids, muttering about how I was impossible and didn't care about them. I ignored it. The next day Sarah and my dad sat me down in the living room like it was an intervention. "We need to talk about the way you've been acting lately," my dad started, looking serious. I leaned back and crossed my arms. "What about it?" Sarah jumped in. "You're refusing to help out with anything around the house. You won't make lunch for the kids. You won't make dinner. And now you're even buying your own groceries and making your own meals like you're not part of the family." "That's because I'm not their parent," I shot back. "I'm not responsible for making sure they eat. That's your job, not mine." My dad sighed. "We're not saying you're their parent, but we are a family. We all live here, and it wouldn't kill you to pitch in once in a while." "I do pitch in," I said, raising my voice a little. "I take care of my own stuff. I make my own food and pay for it with my own money. I'm not asking you guys for anything, so why do I have to take on more?" Sarah cut in. "Because you're part of this household. It's not about who's asking for what, it's about contributing and being part of the family." I rolled my eyes. "I am contributing by not relying on you guys for anything. If I wasn't making my own meals, you'd complain about that too. So what's the issue?" The issue, apparently, was that they wanted me to help with the kids more. It wasn't enough that I was handling myself, they wanted me to make their meals too. They wanted me to take on more responsibilities, but only the ones they didn't feel like doing. "I'm not their babysitter," I said. "I'm not their cook. I've already told you I'm not going to start making their meals because you think I should." My dad was losing patience. "We're not asking you to be their babysitter, but they're part of this family and so are you. Why is it so hard for you to understand that helping out isn't a big deal?" I shook my head. "Because it is a big deal. I'm not going to take on your responsibilities. If you can't take care of them, that's on you, not me." The conversation didn't go anywhere after that. They kept trying to guilt me, but I wasn't budging. I knew if I gave in even a little, they'd pile on more until I was doing everything for them. So I stood my ground. I kept making my own dinners, buying my own groceries, and doing my own thing. They gave me the cold shoulder. Sarah stopped talking to me unless she had to, and my dad just looked disappointed every time he saw me. But I wasn't going to let that change my mind. The tension was thick. Every time I went into the kitchen, I felt them watching, waiting for me to slip up or give in. But I didn't. It wasn't easy living like that, but it was better than letting them push me around. At least this way I had control over my own life, even if things were awkward. I figured eventually they'd either get over it or find another way to deal with it. One thing was clear, I wasn't going to be their built-in chef or babysitter, no matter how much they tried to guilt me. You'd think things would calm down, right? Wrong. They got worse. I was doing my best to stay out of the way and just take care of myself. I didn't see why that was so hard for them to understand. I wasn't asking for anything from them. So why couldn't they let me be? It all came to a head one day when Sarah decided to take things to a new level. I was in my room doing homework when I heard my dad and Sarah talking downstairs. I couldn't make out the words, but the tense energy told me it was about me. 20 minutes later Sarah knocked on my door, walked in without waiting, and said, "We need to talk." Here we go again, I thought. I leaned back in my chair. About what? She sat on the edge of my bed. It's about the kids. I can't keep doing everything by myself. I need help, and your dad agrees. I'd told her a million times, I'm not responsible for the kids. You and dad are. That didn't sit well. She looked ready to lose it. I understand they're not your kids, but we're all living here together. As a family, we should help each other out. I had to call her out. Yeah, but it's not really helping each other when you're just dumping everything on me. I'm not here to make your life easier. That's when she went for the emotional guilt trip. Do you really want the kids to go without lunch or dinner because you're refusing to help? What kind of example are you setting? I drew the line. Sarah, I'm not refusing to help with things that are actually my responsibility. But your kids' meals? That's on you. You're their mom. I didn't sign up to take care of them. She was quiet for a second, then hit me with, if you don't want to be part of this family, then maybe you should start taking care of yourself entirely. I blinked, confused. What's that supposed to mean? She crossed her arms. If you're not going to help out with the kids, then you don't get to eat the food in this house that we buy. You're either part of the family or you're not. I stared at her, trying to process. She was seriously telling me that if I didn't start cooking for her kids, I wasn't allowed to eat anything they bought. Ridiculous. I stood up. Fine. I've been paying for my own food anyway. I'll keep doing that. But don't expect me to take care of your kids just because you don't feel like it. She looked surprised I wasn't backing down. If that's how you want it, fine, she said, heading for the door. But don't come crying to us when things get hard. Don't worry, I called after her. I won't. From that point on I basically lived like a roommate in my own house. I'd buy my own groceries, cook my own meals, and stay out of their way. Every time I came into the kitchen, Sarah or my dad would give me that look, like they were waiting for me to mess up or admit I was wrong. But I wasn't wrong, and I wasn't letting them push me around. One night I came home from work and the kitchen was a disaster. Dirty dishes everywhere, counters a mess, no one had cleaned up after dinner. I started making my dinner quietly, ignoring the chaos. Sarah came in and leaned against the counter. It would be nice if you could help clean up. I didn't turn around. I didn't make the mess. Why should I clean it? She sighed like I was unreasonable. Because that's what people in a family do, they help each other out. I faced her, setting my spoon down. No. What people in a family do is take responsibility for their own messes. I didn't make this one, so I'm not cleaning it. She glared, said nothing, and left. Every interaction felt like a battle, but I wasn't going to cave. The next few days were more awkward silences, cold stares, and passive-aggressive comments. I was used to it by now. I kept my head down, did my own thing, and stayed out of their way. I knew I couldn't change how they felt about me, but I could control how I handled it. And I was doing just fine. By Monday the tension was unbearable. I'd been home a few hours, had the house to myself, and decided to make a real dinner, pasta with homemade sauce, garlic bread on the side. Nothing fancy, but I was feeling good about it. I was halfway through eating when Sarah came home with the kids. It got real quiet. Then Sarah walked in, glanced at my food, and the look on her face said trouble. Did you make enough for the kids? She asked, already knowing the answer. Nope. Just made dinner for myself. That was the wrong answer, she snapped, voice rising. You're seriously going to sit there and eat while my kids are starving? Your kids aren't starving, Sarah. They just got home. And no, I didn't make them dinner because you never asked me to. I shouldn't have to ask you. You know they need to eat, but you only think about yourself. It's disgusting. I set down my fork. I'm not their parent. It's not my job to make sure they eat. That's on you and Dad. Don't you dare blame this on us, she shouted, face red. You live here too. You're supposed to help out, be part of this family. But no, you'd rather make dinner just for yourself, like you're some kind of guest in this house. That last part got to me. A guest? I'm not a guest. I've lived here my whole life. You and your kids moved in, not me. I'm already taking care of myself, paying for my own groceries, cooking my own food. I'm not responsible for your kids. She lost it. You think you're so grown up because you make your own food and pay for some groceries? You don't even know what real responsibility is. Try raising 3 kids by yourself, then you can talk. I stood up. That's not my problem, Sarah. You decided to have kids. You and Dad should be taking care of them, not me. I've done more than enough by staying out of your way and handling my own stuff. I'm not going to be your live-in babysitter and cook just because you're overwhelmed. She started calling me names, worthless, not part of the family, said she hated living with me. It was the ugliest argument we'd ever had, and her kids were listening from the doorway. I wasn't going to stoop to her level. I walked out of the kitchen, went to my room, closed the door, and tried to calm down. I could still hear her yelling downstairs, but I tuned it out. The next morning I came down for breakfast. Sarah was at the table, glaring. The kids were eating, tension thick. I grabbed my stuff to leave when Sarah spoke, voice cold. Aren't you going to make dinner tonight? No, I'm not. You're going to make dinner for the kids tonight, she repeated. If you don't expect to eat anything in this house ever again. I almost laughed. Sarah, I already buy my own food. What are you even talking about? She stood up, chair scraping. I'm serious. If you won't contribute to this family, you're not part of it. Don't touch any food we've bought. Don't expect any help from us. You're on your own from now on. I shook my head. Fine. I'll keep buying my own food. I don't need anything from you guys anyway. I left for school. All day I thought about how insane things had gotten. It wasn't about lunch or dinner anymore, it was about control. Sarah wanted me to fall in line, and when I didn't, she tried to make my life miserable. But I wasn't letting her win. That night I came home with a bag of groceries, made my own dinner, and ignored the dirty looks. They were waiting for me to cave, to apologize. But I wasn't going to. I had my own life, my own responsibilities, and I wasn't taking on theirs. The tension was unbearable. I'd come home and it felt like living with strangers. Nobody spoke to me unless they had to, and even then it was short and clipped. Fine by me, less drama. It all came to a head one Friday night. I got home from work, went straight to the kitchen with my groceries. Sarah was at the table with my dad. They'd been waiting for me. I started unpacking. Sarah stood up. We need to talk. What about? I asked without turning around. You're not contributing to this family, she started, voice sharp. You're living here, using up space, but you're not helping out with anything, and I'm tired of it. I faced her. I've told you, I take care of myself. I make my own food, buy my own groceries, and stay out of your way. What more do you want? I want you to start being part of this family, she said. That means helping out with the kids, making meals for everyone, and actually contributing. I shook my head. I have been contributing. I'm not relying on you guys for anything. If anything, I'm making your lives easier by taking care of myself. That's not enough, she snapped. You don't get to just live here and do the bare minimum. We're a family, and families help each other. My patience was gone. Sarah, I'm not part of your family. I didn't ask for this. You and Dad decided to get married and bring 3 kids into my house. I didn't. I've done more than enough by staying out of your way and not causing problems, but I'm not going to take on your responsibilities. My dad finally spoke, voice stern. You're part of this family whether you like it or not.